to move to the idea that when we print out a report, you'll see the sun line, the moon, the ascendant. But right after that says NN for North Node. That's typically line 4. And then line 5 is SN for South Node. I'm going very basic because sometimes people, I don't know what NN means or SN. The North Node and South Node. So with the nodal axis, you have the center of a zodiacal wheel. And a nodal axis is completely 180 degrees opposite each other. And this is how the beautiful cosmic game works in life, right? As a soul, we agree, hey, I didn't learn that issue in my last life. I'll come in again and try and learn it this life. So there's some pre-agreements. You can find out where you came from in a past life, what those lessons were. And you can also see on the 100% opposite what the lesson is now that will challenge you in this life. Now, you're not going to find nodes in the cosmos. It's not like a planet. It's not physical, but it has a very specific point in space that involves the Earth and the moon. So we're really looking at lunar nodes. Julia, do you want to add anything?
I would like to go straight to the experience I've had with so many QHHT clients when I was doing years of past life regression sessions through QHHT. And we looked at several different past lives of a person. And then after their session, I would sit and look at their charts, and especially at the lunar nodes, I would see that it's true what's written in their chart.
So let's play, Julia, the first partnership of house 1. I am Aries Mars. The house is saying, this is how I show up. This is my body. This is my identity. This is me, people. And it is going to pair with the 7th house of Libra. So we've got Aries ruled by Mars and Libra ruled by Venus. And isn't that interesting? That whole Mars, Venus, male, female. Aries, I assert. Venus says, oh, I love, come here. Let's get married kind of thing, or let's have this relationship. And I'm talking archetypal energy. I'm not doing male, female. I'm just trying to do the broad metaphor. So 1st house, 7th house. Julia, let's play this game. If someone's North Node is sitting in the 1st house.
Many clients would have that, because people that are drawn to us are empaths, very sensitive, compassionate people who care for others, which means they were too invested in the 7th house, South Node, relationships. And in this life is not letting them to do that again, because it makes them miserable, because they are overgiving and they're forgetting to give themselves. So with North Node in Aries or in 1st house, they need to learn to also love themselves and to decide for themselves based on following their excitement, their passions, their needs, desires, to build their own identity as an individual rather than constantly being a reflection of others or constantly pleasing others. This is a theme that I've seen gazillion times throughout the many years. So whenever you have someone with North Node in Aries, encourage them as much as you can to not feel guilty about saying yes to themselves and saying no to someone who is misusing their goodness and kindness. It's most of all about guilt. They're not used to saying no. And if they do, they feel guilty. So usually they're born into family dynamic where it's quite complex relationships, toxic relationships, and it's their parents who taught them to feel guilty when they're not pleasing them. So you need to really point it out to them and make it crystal clear that this is the theme that they need to transcend and work through, and suddenly they'll be so relieved to hear that, and they'll change very quickly and their paradigm will shift. They'll let go of those manipulating people in their life, and they'll start finding people that actually love and support them as emerging leaders. It's a really common theme. Does that help?
It does. And you remind me that, when you look with a client, it helps explain, oh, this is why I chose that family. where this is why those experiences happen to me. It almost, you kind of step into owning your own destiny. And I love what you say, Julia. Sometimes there's the childhood, there's the adulthood, and then there's this period of grace where it's our calling out to, you can just sit there and wallow in your victimhood, or are you ready to try and balance and rebalance the whole axial energy? Once you know what the setup was. So, okay, North Node in the first house. What happens though that the North Node is in the seventh? So we'll just do this.
I would have had less of these types of clients, because they would be quite almost, well, not necessarily selfish, but they would have had very strong self-confidence and identity built over several lifetimes. They had the opportunity to be leaders, to be the decision makers, to be the pioneers. So you then need to feel into how much light and love and consideration and compassion they already tapped into. So it's actually not a bad thing. They are, not selfish and egotistical. So mostly people that'll be attracted to this type of work, they'll have fair share of the compassion and kindness and caring for others. But when you meet someone that has North Node in the seventh house, teach them or invite them to embrace listening to others' needs, wishes, and desires, to always look for something to learn from the other person, and to find a win-win relationships, win-win situations. The more they do it, the more blessings and amazing things will be happening in their life. And there will be most likely relationships divinely guided or brought into their life for them to grow and expand and co-create with others. That it's now about embracing relationships rather than being even a hermit or being the lone wolf. Some of them would have had past lives as solo travelers, as seeking adventure. It's not only about being mean to others or being ego driven. Many of those that would have come to me were like these solo travelers, or a cowboy in the wild west past lives, that kind of thing.